So,
Okay,
what are you
guys.
doing tonight?
I haven't figured it
Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. I'm Len Damico. This is episode number 100, where we are celebrating Columbus-based local music. We have an all-star peanut gallery today. We had a fun pregame. We have 4 guest hosts. We're going to go down the line, talk about the hosts, and we'll go through some of the gallery, and it's going to be a fun conversation. And so here's to the first guest host. We'll start with, I think, James Biggy Young, because James Biggy Young really is the instigator of the topics and kind of how this is going to flow, everything rolling. But James, go ahead and open us up. And then we'll go through all of the hosts that are here. We have 4 hosts. James, we'll start with you. James Biggy Young.
I'm James Biggy Young. I'm the lead singer of a band called Hit List.
We got to get you on the mic, brother.
All right, man. And when I met Len, man, he changed my life and opened the door by having me on his podcast. So I thought it was only fair to repay him on his 100. And we all celebrate him, man, because I'm sure he's had a life before he started doing all this. And, you know, we're going to find out the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Some of the ugly we won't talk about, but it'll be cool.
We're going to talk about it.
Right on. All right, so who's next, James? Who's next in the host lineup?
My boy, my ride and die, Larz Raymond, man.
Hey, I'm Larz Raymond, and I've been friends with Len for about 17 years, so this is pretty cool. I'm stoked to be a part of this, and we're just going to celebrate him today and have a good time and see what happens.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. But we're celebrating Columbus-based music, too, man. It's awesome. And I think, who's next? Who's the next host?
Hi, it's me, Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Bumgarner. I am the singer in the Martini Affair. I used to be in Radio Tramps, and I did the podcast about almost a year ago, and it was a fantastic experience. And I just think Len has done such a beautiful job with everyone getting to tell their stories and listening to everyone's stories and getting to know people, even you may have not have met, and just opening up themselves to you. And just, it's been such a great thing for our community here, and I'm so happy to be here, Len, and we're going to grill you today, pretty much.
You are, but didn't we have 4 guest hosts? Who's the 4th guest host?
Who is it? Who could it be?
The hostess with the mostest.
It's me.
It's me.
I am Beth Nuzum Cronenweth, and I am privileged to be a guest host today with the love of my life, Len Damico. He has changed my life in so many ways, and this podcast has changed both of our lives, really. And
that part was an accident.
Well, that part, it was all an accident if you think about it. It's all fate, right? Yeah. It's all fate, and here we are. I'd be remiss if I didn't say I'm the lead singer in Megabeth, and I'm in the Liquor Talking. That's out of the way. But this is going to be fun. We just want to talk to Len, and he's always like, "It's not about me. It's about Columbus local music." And we're like, "Yeah, but you're a part of it, babe."
That's
and
cool.
we need to do this. So, thanks to everyone. Fun. Thanks to everyone.
So the gallery, right? So JP and Nikki of Radio City had a podcast episode, sometime over the last couple years, and. So, Nikki kind of worked to bring the gallery into the fold, which is pretty cool. But, why don't you talk a little bit about the gallery?
The Peanut Gallery.
Hi, Nikki, but we got to get you on the mic. You got to get
Am I on there?
You are now.
Here, let me get right in Tiffany's face.
You don't have to get into the mic like that, but you can come. You can sit with her. Yeah.
All right. Try not to knock Tiffany off. So, the Peanut Gallery, I cannot take credit for the Peanut Gallery. I just happened to be the podcast that was happening, and we just happened to have the fantastic Julie Neal and Ben Neal in attendance, and we wanted them to not sit out in the kitchen, but sit in here in the studio, as it were, and be with us. So they officially became the Peanut Gallery, and I'll take a picture to accompany the podcast to show that it has officially been designated the Neal Peanut Gallery.
The Neal. Let's hear it for the Neil.
Yay!
Yay!
Also, it should be mentioned that, I mean, maybe some of you know this, but some of you don't, that Len does the podcast in their beautiful place downtown that overlooks the city, and it is the most beautiful view, and the place that we are sitting in right now is one of the most beautiful homes I've ever been in, and that's not me just blowing smoke up your ass. That's true. I love it here, you guys.
Thank you.
We do too.
Absolutely.
But you have to leave, and we don't. So.
I know. No, I'm staying. I'm staying.
Tiffany, who else is in the gallery here?
We got the Homans, John and Molly.
All right.
And we got the Johnsons.
The Johnsons.
Yep.
Robin Mandy.
And we have Dennis Kelly II.
Dennis Kelly.
Socialite, fan, purveyor of everything kind of cool.
And I love Len.
And they represent Clubber Lang back there, so we didn't say that.
Yes, the mighty Clubber Lang. The mighty.
And of course, Nikki Reber.
And Nikki's here with Radio City. And there's a whole crew of folks that are eating all our food and drinking everything in sight in the next room, which is awesome. So James, let's kick this episode off, man.
All right. What I want to know is where you come from.
Where do I come from?
Yeah.
So I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then I have two brothers, and we kind of were, Allegheny River rats as very young people, but we ended up getting into Detroit, Michigan, right off of 8 Mile Road, believe it or not. We grew up there as youngsters. There's a kind of a weird time in American history because in Detroit at the time it was a war zone, literally. So we kind of had a weird environment there, but we did kind of get out of there eventually, and we went back to Pittsburgh and lived there a couple years. So early teens, I was in the Pennsylvania area, in the hills of Pennsylvania, just having a great time with nature and, two brothers and lots of friends. And in the early 70s, ended up in Westerville, Ohio, 73-ish. And so I kind of am from there, but I have all that, early stuff as to where I'm from.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to hang out with Eminem when you lived in 8 Mile?
I was too old for Eminem.
What about Poison when you lived in Pennsylvania?
We got to get you closer to the mic because we can barely hear you, Biggie. What was that question?
Larz, episode 1.
Where was what?
I stole someone's question. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. So what was the question?
Poison.
Poison. No, I didn't know anybody from that.
Okay.
Well, Len, you're from Westerville. I'm from Sunbury, so not very far from there.
What was it like in Westerville back in those dry days?
In the dry days?
The dry days. That's right. I forgot
it's true.
about that. That's
so I did grow up in a dry town. That's a true statement. But the interesting thing about that is, as a teenager, this is true. Although I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So I won't name the venue.
Statute of limitations is passed.
There's a venue outside the skirts of Westerville that we all currently perform from time to time on the patio. But there's a bar that's still there, and we used to ride our bikes over there at 13 and partake in what that place provided and try to navigate off the stairs and onto our bikes again and coming home, at 13 or 14 years old on a bike, coming out of there in the middle of the summer, had some interesting things happening.
You
but
said
it was
stairs
dry.
in Westerville.
It was
I think
dry,
we all know
though.
what
It was
what you're
dry,
talking about.
and we had a good time out there. There was also a barn in the middle of the field that a lot of parties occurred. That's all I can say.
They were pretty astute, not noticing that these guys that couldn't shave and rode bicycles were old enough to drink. All right.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
But, as far as music, there really wasn't any music in Westerville. There's nobody was really doing visible music other than what we were hearing out of the screen windows of the teenagers of the time, right? The older guys. And one of those albums I heard the first time in the late 70s was that first Gods album. True story. I mean, that's everyone was going to the Alrosa Villa, and I was like, who's Alrosa? sounds Italian. I should know this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my extent of the knowledge where some of the people in this room were over there rocking their freaking faces
up
off.
For the gods many
and
times.
I was like, I missed out. Like, Al Rosa, what? Like, that was kind of Westerville, okay? Like, I kind of, kind of my sense of what was happening musically.
They had a restaurant in the front, remember?
Yeah.
They did, but other than... so a couple shout outs, right? So Brian Henderson and the Jelinek family and the Bloom family. I mean, we all got introduced to music through Brian Henderson's basement, okay, where he had lava lamps and he had albums, and we would listen to things like Yes and Kiss and the Rolling Stones, and so we got our music through QFM 96 and WCOL 92. Was it X at the time? It was an album oriented.
AM.
That stuff was the shit for us because, as a teenager in Westerville where there's not any live music going on, there's all that album oriented rock, and so progressive rock, Led Zeppelin and all that, I was getting all that influence, early as a kid through that way. In Westerville, yeah.
So what album did you own? What was your first album that you owned that you wore out, that you played so many times that you couldn't play it anymore?
Yeah, there's a couple of those.
Really? Well, what were they?
There goes my first
and I
question.
still have them. I still have those albums in Beth's album. Larz, it's cool, man. In our little album collection of vinyl out in the other room. So the first album I bought was the first Rush album. It says Rush. Okay, it wasn't even...
Which one?
Just said Rush.
I think you brought that over on one of our first dates.
Caress of Steel was my first album as well.
So Caress of Steel was actually not the first Rush album.
No, but it was my first Rush album.
Oh, but we're not talking about you, Larz.
All about you, Len.
I know, but you said Rush. Rush was your first album, so
stay in your lane, man. Come on. No. The first Rush album had I think it was John Rutler was the drummer. Is that right?
Rutzy.
Okay, before Neil came into the picture, writing all that stuff. There she is. Boom. Nikki Reber's wearing the shirt. Yeah, I know. JP and Nikki are huge Rush fans. A lot of people are, but so that was the first album I wore out, but it's still available in the next room. The other album was Kiss Alive. Okay, Kiss Alive is worn out, but I still have the album. It's out there. But those are really the first two that I had and totally wore out on my dad's stereo, which was one of those big ass Motorola jobs.
Yes.
You know what I mean? With the 120 speaker, and then my dad had the matching extension cab for the stereo. So when the needle dropped, boom. Our house with three male siblings, my two brothers and myself. It was loud music in our house, to the last day for sure.
That makes the most impression, that stuff.
My mom's awesome.
Your mom's a saint.
So, I don't. Tiffany, you can ask as many questions as you want, but I think Larz is getting jealous. He's getting jealous because you had all those questions. What are we gonna do, Biggie?
Listen. I feel like Travion Henderson. I need to get out of the doghouse right here. So who was the first local band you ever saw?
I believe that was Third Degree Sideburn. No, I saw you guys later.
This wasn't a setup question.
Live, I probably don't remember the name. And where would that have been?
That's a good question. Where?
Living in Westerville in the burbs, like on the northeast side of Columbus, like literally my whole life until I met Elizabeth here. But, I'm trying to think, like in Columbus, where did I go? I used to go to India Oak and see bands. And so it was probably at India Oak or at El Dorado's. It might have actually also been at the Dolphin Lounge where I saw some local bands, And I was like 35, 36 years old, like that's late in life to actually, get interested in actually doing what you see. But, those are probably the venues I don't remember the band names though, unfortunately.
Okay.
So you listened to music, you loved music growing up.
Yeah.
When did you decide you wanted to be a musician?
I always wanted to. So like when I was a teenager in Westerville, like QFM 96 is a huge influence on the music I listen to. Classic rock today is what it's kind of labeled, or iconic rock, I guess is what it's labeled. And I still listen to QFM. Huge Christy Kemper fan, and the music that comes through that station.
Denim and Leather. That's the best damn show they got on there.
Who?
Ain't that right, John?
Oh, hell yeah, man.
It's on the weekends. They play nothing but metal for 2 hours.
Yeah, so you guys love that for sure.
You need a dose of that, man.
I need a dose of that. I do. And everybody does. Now I forget the question because I'm old. What were we talking about, Larz?
Larz has another question.
It was my question.
It was Beth's question.
Oh, it was Beth's.
But I'm sure Larz would have asked it if he'd gotten down his list. When did you decide you wanted to be a musician?
So it was probably when I was at El Dorado and the Dolphin, and some of those venues that have like open mic type stuff. I did meet a couple of people along the way around that time in business. My friend Johnny Guskus, who lives in Akron. Johnny at work was a guitar player, singer, and we kind of got together after work. He showed me the open chords. I always wanted, growing up, to play, but I just, you go through local music projects, kind of weaving your personal life and what fits and what's a priority in your life. And for me, getting involved, I was like 36 only because of the priorities in my life at the time, and I couldn't get involved. I always wanted to play guitar, like since, I don't know, teenager. And all those influences we've already talked through. So I met Johnny G. He showed me a lot. He started pulling me out into some of these open mics a little more. Victorian Midnight Cafe right down the street at Victorian Village. Yep. That's a great little venue. I don't know what's going on there now. Beth and I haven't been there in a while, but we used to go when it was still the Victorian Midnight Cafe. I think it's changed hands. Shrunken Head.
It's there, and they're closed.
Yeah, they put something.
I don't know
else
what's
in there.
going on in there, but that was a cool place to hang out and learn how to, play your guitar in front of people, that kind of stuff. Another experience too for me was meeting Ernest Guitar Roy. Okay, so I was driving a Jeep Wrangler out in Gahanna, Ohio, fueling up, and this gentleman came up to me. He's like, "That's a pretty cool Jeep," and I was like, "Thanks." He goes, "You look like a musician." I go, "Really?" So at the time, I was kind of stuck with like learning. I did a lot of blues-oriented things and like soul-filled music expression with a guitar, and didn't really sing, but I played guitar. But so Ernest and I kind of became fast friends, and I learned that he was from Clarksdale, Mississippi, where the blues is said to have been born at the crossroads. But something happened there in Clarksdale that they claim that as ground zero. I don't want to misquote anything, right?
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson's something happened there. Yeah,
yes, Robert Johnson.
So Ernest and I hung out. Ernest and I actually hung out as friends, and I just want to shout out to Ernest Roy because he's a guy that kind of showed me that the blues is something that is not. You can't teach the blues. You can't learn the blues. The blues is something very special. We talked a little bit about that in some of the episodes along the way. But, for me, it's a feeling, it's a lifestyle, and it's something that you express from a place inside of you. Right?
You've had to suffer sometime in your life to play the blues.
But the thing, for Ernest, okay, Ernest... father played with Robert Johnson. He played with those cats, okay? So he lived all of that stuff. I mean, like, for me to have spent, I think, 2 years hanging out with this guy, learning music from somebody like that, who was really, like real deal attached to the blues movement of the 20s and the plight of the people that were performing that kind of music, right? And so you get to play music with somebody like that. You know, that's a gift. That's a true education, and it's something that I'll never forget. And so it kind of got me out of like, kind of broke me out of my being stuck musically, and I really went a little deeper emotionally when I play. You know, I try to do my best to tap into emotion.
Well, the first time I saw you was in the Brighton Blues Band, actually, at the Indie Oak. Tell us a little bit about that band and how it became, how it formed and stuff.
That's pretty cool. So at the time, just kind of progressing into more open mics, I was asked by Lori Dolphin Lori Ebright, who runs the Dolphin Lounge in Gahanna, to run an open mic for one of her Wednesday slots. It was a Wednesday during the week. And so I did that for a summer. And I had a little rhythm section. I played guitar. I had a drummer and a bass player. And so we called ourselves Workshop, and we did our Wednesday open mic. And we had a lot of popular folks that kind of came out of that too. And met a lot of folks, and two guys came, Heath McMullen and Billy Spitfire, right? Billy is Mathematics lead guitar player these days, original punk rock band out of Columbus, and he's also in the Flynns, which is a Rolling Stones act. Billy is a big personal influence in when I play, and so Billy played bass, and Heath is a singer guitar player. They came to my open mic, and I didn't sing much, but I did play guitar, and they're like, "Hey man, we're gonna start this band. You should work with Heath." And my bass player was currently working with Heath at that time, and so we played a lot at Indie Oak, and we played a lot of blues. We played a lot of Delbert McClinton stuff. We played actually a lot of stuff that I'm sort of oriented with genre-wise today, right? And so that band ran about 5 years, a lot at India Oak, Clintonville venues, and I played lead guitar, blues, pentatonic scale, city, but it was very expressive, right, for me. And it was a great way for me to, continue to learn songs, cover songs, trying to, figure out what local music, why am I doing this at 40 years old kind of thing, but I just was doing it. Because I loved it. We rehearsed every week in Billy Spitfire's basement. But, Larz coming to that, you say that was the first time you saw a Brighton Blues Band. I mean, what was that for you, Larz? What was the Brighton Blues Band for you? I
thought it was cool. I thought you guys had a totally different sound, and I enjoyed the stuff that you guys did, and I think that's when we started hanging out, actually. Was at the Oak. For your band and Third Degree Sideburn.
And then seeing Third Degree, it just blew me away. I mean, and then the fact that you guys, you and Bart Jenkins, you're the bass player of that operation, and you two in particular would come to the Brighton Blues shows frequently. And that would freak me out because I knew who you were, Larz. I was like, Larz Raymond's story. Larz is still, organizing material for his next series of podcast episodes and I love your stories, man. And I always loved that. And it was early inspiration for like what's now this Columbus local podcast is, you meet people, you go to somebody's show. And I was doing that in my 30s and 40s, along with, Brighton Blues Band stuff for 5 years at the time. But, having you guys there was very supportive. And it was really cool to see you. But it was also kind of like, what the hell are these guys doing here for the Brighton Blues Band at India Oak and Clintonville? But it was cool. It was the coolest thing.
And the great thing is, I'm still good friends with Heath and Billy as well as you guys. So the friendships last till this day. And we know the parties we've had in Billy's basement.
Yeah, Billy's house in his backyard, just epic music,
Halloween
centric,
parties.
parties and oh gosh, yeah, all that, and it was all music. It was great, and we would be performing. I'd grab a guitar, and then turn around. There's Larz Raymond on the kit. It was just those kind of parties. It was great.
Well, Larz actually was a big influence of the podcast even starting.
Absolutely, he was.
I remember being at Park Street Tavern 2 years ago. And we were
Partying late into the morning.
Partying, and poor Gabe had to go to work the next morning, and she's like, Larz, I'm pulling the car around to load your drum kit. And he's like, I'm talking, you go ahead.
Hey, come on now. Some secrets need to be kept.
Oh, I didn't mean that. So he got up and helped her right away. And then he came back and wink, wink. And,
are you done yet?
Trouble.
and then you guys talked about the podcast, and here we are 2 years later.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was interested in podcasting. I mean, and when you podcasting, you want to pick a passion subject that you think other people might be interested in, and this turned out to be a lot of fun.
Larz, you were
Absolutely.
number one, right? Yeah, did we already say that?
I was the guinea pig.
Larz
He was number one, and as we like to say, Matt Sistone was number two.
Yes, yes, and Matt is here tonight.
Well, Larz goes big. I just did this podcast. You got to listen to it. And he's like, this dude's like the kingpin of Columbus. And I'm like, all right, dude. So I turn it on, and I hear Len's voice, and I'm like, why is Larz doing a podcast on some jazz channel? Because Len, you could have a job at any jazz station. It's 12 o'clock. Len Damico getting real easy tonight.
I have a story on that.
I do dig jazz, man.
I did my podcast, and I was like nervous about it because I'm nervous about everything. And, afterwards I'm like, oh, did I do good? And I'm talking to some friends the day after, and I said, okay, do you think I did good? I put it all out there, and I thought I did good. I was doing,
yeah,
no,
you
it
did.
was whatever. And he says to me, man, he doesn't say anything about me. He says, man, that guy has a great voice. That was the only thing he said. I'm like, what? Yeah, he does, but come on.
You do. I was number 3 podcast, which seems to be a pattern in Len's life. But
Third time's the charm.
wow,
It's going
who
hard.
said that? But it was a little awkward because we lived together and we wrapped it up in like 37 minutes, and then he'll do one of you guys and be like, hey, we talked for 2 hours. I'm like, you gave me 37 minutes.
Honestly,
That's great.
Beth.
I told you I had to leave to beat the traffic, and you said, okay, let's go. But I live here, so
No. Well, yeah, it's cool.
Do a part two. Do a part two.
We could do it whatever you want.
No, it's all
what?
good.
Honestly, Beth, that was a strange vibe because I think we had a little tiff that day. Maybe it was just the dynamic.
Maybe
it wasn't
you did. Yeah.
Just saying.
So it's kind of bitter.
No.
No. There's no bitterness.
She didn't talk as much as I was expecting, and so it was
Wow.
37 minutes.
I'm not that I remember, but it was 37
There's
minutes.
no subliminal.
Yeah.
So who had the shortest? Who's had the shortest?
It was not me, believe it or not.
Okay, who knows Merv Rollin?
Yeah, we all do.
All the hands go up. Merv got patched in by a phone because he lives in. I don't want to pinpoint him. He doesn't live in Columbus anymore, but he phoned in and we had a conversation over the phone. And those that know Merv know him to be short, curt, all business.
Yeah.
And one of the things I pride myself with the podcast is I try to reveal the person, right, and get a sense of who they are. And Merv definitely fit that bill, and his was, I think, exactly 12 minutes.
Wow. Are you serious?
Yeah.
It was a little long. It was a little longer. Listen. For the record, I love Merv. I love him. When I go to his acoustic shows these days, he yells off stage. He jumps. He jumps off stage into the pit, okay, and then he yells Lenny, and we hug, and then he jumps back up there and he pulls Beth on stage and performs.
It's
It's awesome. It's fantastic. But Merv is he's got his own story. We covered a little bit of that on his episode. Check him out. That's going to be good. That's a fun conversation.
So what's the longest?
Okay, So the longest so far is, I believe, Matt Mace. Matt has a lot to say. That's a really fun episode.
Yeah, that was great.
And Matt is he's done a lot, and he has a lot to convey. And he took, I think, 2 hours and 15 minutes to say everything that he actually wanted to say. It was really cool.
Wow.
So he beat my record, huh?
He did.
Wow.
Okay,
you
so
cut me off. We could have went the distance.
I had technological limitations that I have overcome with experience.
Well, I think mine was only 47, so don't feel bad.
Yeah.
So
Well-
if we're talking about like podcast episodes, so who was the wildest? Who was the wildest story? You're like,
There's a
I don't even
couple.
know if I can even put this out to the
There's a
universe.
couple. And
I
I
know
don't
one.
want to call anybody out. I don't want to call anybody out. But
In a kind way.
you know,
I'd be happy if you said
Well, give a
mine.
hint. How about give a hint? They were sitting in a chair, spinning around the whole time that you were interviewing, and he'll know who it is when
Was it
he
a bass
hears this.
player?
It was a bass
Oh
player.
yeah.
Could have been.
Oh, wow, hard to believe.
It was a bass player. Yeah. No, it was good. They're all awesome episodes, man. You can't pick one out, you know?
We had the Gods here as a full band.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. We spent Saturday night. They were coming on a Sunday, if I can tell this part of the
Sure,
story.
Go ahead.
And so we had to. There were, the whole band. So we had to move the equipment out to the dining room table, and we found out that Len's mixer didn't have enough inputs and outputs for everything. So luckily, I had my mixer here. So we jerry-rigged 2 mixers together and spent hours just making sure that all the mics and the
Testing
headphones and everything worked. And somebody was playing Nikki
I remember that day.
at Double Barrel.
Where's
And
Little Beth?
yeah, where are you guys? So at 10:15 we go, okay, we're on our way. And we did. We went out to
Last set.
Double Barrel to
The
see
last
Nikki
set.
and Vince and Bob Maines do acoustic stuff. It was awesome. But that's what we had been doing. And I said, I'm just going to go sweaty. I'm not going to shower. So
Yeah.
which was,
like
I don't know why I just
rock and
shared
roll.
that.
Wow, where did we...
Wow.
Hey, man, I'm wearing the same shit I wore when I performed with Gabrielle last night.
I'm wearing the same shirt I had on
Not
for
true.
my gig, too.
That's not, no, it wasn't that bad. It was a joke. It was just a joke.
I feel guilty because I took a shower today.
Lars is actually wearing the same shirt he performed in last night. He told me.
I
so.
didn't sweat much. I brought a fan, and I used deodorant.
I may
Thanks, Tiff, for sharing that secret.
may or may not have done that myself a time or two. Where we at?
Okay, I got one. Jeff Beck or Eric Clapton?
I gotta go with Beck.
You're my man.
Really? No, you want to know why?
Yeah.
I think here's the thing with guitar players. There's some great guitar players in this room, okay, and in this city and everywhere around the world. But I will say between those two guys, my rationale, they're both phenomenal, obviously world-renowned guitar players. But Clapton is a phenomenal player. Beck transforms that instrument into something else. Okay, so Hendrix did that successfully. Eddie Van Halen did the same transformation. I would say Rob Johnson does the same transformation.
All right, Rob.
And Rob's here.
Rob from Clever
But-
Lang, everyone.
Rob J.
If you're
Clever
able,
Wang.
if you're able to organically transform your instrument into some other space or some other experience beyond its innately known capability, to me that is kind of a differentiating factor to say that someone might be a little stronger favored. So Beck for me in that pair up.
I totally agree. Yeah, definitely.
What
Plus,
he
Beck
said.
had an incredibly gorgeous female bass player.
Oh yes, he did. Tal.
Tal's bad. Tal's bad.
Somebody's calling out Tal. Yeah, Tal W. I'll mispronounce her name.
Len,
Wickenfield, I think. Was it, right?
Len, I wanted to do this because I've known half of these people in here for years, but I never really knew them until I listened to a podcast, and I was like, wow, I never knew that about John. And well, I did, and Rob, and then Larz said stuff, and I'm like, dude, I don't remember that. But I think that is so cool, and you just have broken down barriers. It's hard to say, but all these guys can attest. Back in the day, you stood at the bar at the Alrosa with your fake fur coat on and your arms crossed, and you watched the band. Well, now all of a sudden, it ain't like that no more. It's
really,
we're all one big family. I don't even know some people when I see them, and they're like, "Big, what's going on?" They got a hug, and
see, I hear that,
it's
Biggie.
Done a miracle around here. Larz knows.
Cool,
we'd
man.
go to the Alrosa, and he's like, "Dude, them guys didn't uncross their arms all night when we were playing." And I said, "Yeah, let's melt them anyhow." Yeah, right, dude.
That's the
and
attitude, man.
and we were even talking to Steve Mitchell, and he was like, "Dude, I think back then, what were we thinking, man? And we were just kids, but now." We're all.
That's
it is
cool,
a family,
man.
and you're the Godfather. You have brought us together.
The funny thing is, that's a nickname for them. Len does look like Marlon Brando.
Yeah. But you kind of remind me of the lion on Rudolph that ran the Island of Misfit Toys, because we're all kind of.
Ain't running nothing, brother.
We're all kind of misfit. To be in a band, you have to be a misfit. Like Mick Jagger said. His grandpa took him to the circus, and the biggest line was the freak show. And he goes, as a kid, I thought, I can't believe all these people are paying to see freaks. Well, that's pretty much what music is. So you do your thing, and people pay to see you, man.
Nobody wants to be a Charlie in the box.
No.
Yeah.
But
it's
here's
true.
what I'll say. It's all settled. We leave early in the morning.
We'll get you one of those Burger King crowns, and you're set to go.
Dude,
man.
listen, man. The only thing that I run is this podcast thing. It's just a personal passion area. I love everybody in this room, and I love everybody that's out there humping, doing their thing. Like, and here's something that I will say.
Humping? Everybody that's humping?
I mean, take
Pretty
that.
wide net you just cast.
It's
Whatever.
mating season.
Spring's coming.
We all different podcasts.
Maybe not the best choice of words, huh?
See how hard
Perfect.
this is, Len? Now you have
It
a new
is what it
appreciation
is.
for your gift.
It is what it is, but it's it's a passion. It's a what were we talking about, man?
Passion.
Lars has another
Passion.
question.
Lars has a question.
Okay. Let's see. So, would you prefer playing now that you're playing bass? You prefer to
For
play
4 months
with fingers or a pick?
Okay,
And why?
Yeah, okay. So that's a good question, and I've talked this over with people like the Columbus area. I'm taking bass lessons from Matt Sistone, who I have a lot of respect for. I have a lot of respect for everybody.
He's over my left shoulder.
He's a great
Part owner and planks over.
Just by nature of what he spends over
Major
there.
investor.
Absolutely.
That's true.
What was the question?
Fingers or pick?
Oh, Sean Pruden is another trusted ally that has given me a lot of information, a lot of tips. Mr. Dell of Phoenix Rising is, he helped me with some gear decisions and a lot of that type of thing. So, and this very topic, right? So, I'm not speaking for them, but I'm going to speak for myself. And I'll just say that it depends on the song. But I will say, for me, coming off a guitar, I have discovered kind of a special pick. It's for a ukulele. It's kind of oversized, but it's made out of felt.
Okay. Yeah.
So
All
it's
right.
not
Wow.
it's not a like a guitar pick, a traditional guitar pick. It's more of a like a consistent beak, if you will, on these big fat bass strings for a guy coming off guitar. It's a little easier to consistently strike the strings for me and make things happen the way they have to, with a bass instrument versus the guitar where you're strumming and whatnot, or even picking things out. So the James Jamerson cover stuff, I try not to use the pick because it's a very smooth sound from Motown, but if I'm doing some Joe Walsh stuff, that pick's got to be there, man. That's an intricate little musical piece, and for me, I can't pull it off with my fingers and like come through yet. I need to develop the calluses and all that crap. But
awesome.
It depends on the song.
Okay, I got a follow up to that then, since we're right here. So, Jocko or James Jamerson, since you just said James Jamerson?
They're both legendary, obviously, bass players. Man, those are kind of... so, again, I think kind of going back to the same logic or emotion, Jocko transformed that bass into some other thing. Okay? Jamerson... just solid bass player that obviously made things happen because of his groove. Like what his DNA is comprised is what kind of drove that stuff. So I mean, equally, I can point out those factors, but I got to go with Jocko because of the transformation.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
Yes, Tiffany.
okay. So give us a list of all the bands you've played out with. What are all the bands you've played with, and tell us about your current band that you're in right now.
We'll go through that. So like when I was 36, I started, learning how to play the guitar in my living room. I was, I had time to kill the time in my life. I could finally fit it into my life. You know what I mean? Because of life priorities. I'm like, oh, let me try this thing that I keep seeing. Because I didn't know it really was a thing. It didn't exist where I grew up. Although there were some secret pockets. But so the first band for me was something that, so Johnny G I accompanied. He did a lot of acoustic stuff in Victorian Village area. And I accompanied him for a couple of years. I went and had a band that was called Groove Agent.
Good name.
It was pretty cool.
Groove Agent.
And we were sort of like this rhythm section with they called me the lead, like a rhythm lead guy, and we would try to go to these open mics and kind of fit in with a vocalist, to maybe with a goal to do a band. I got a shout out to Shelly and Aaron Butler. Aaron has a great barbecue business on the side. They are both great vocal people, and I did some stuff with them. I would say garage band stuff, but playing out. The first one, am I thinking that it was the Brighton Blues Band for me. That was like my first band that I actually practiced my parts and did some rehearsal, post, and had some gigs. From the Brighton Blues Band, I got pulled out of there by Jimmy King.
That's right. Who's here?
Hey, Jim.
So Jimmy King is here today, which is freaking awesome. And so Jimmy, I don't remember how exactly we meet. We talked a little bit about that when we had a podcast episode for you, right? But
I put an ad out for a guitarist, and you sent me a link to your CD that you had put out,
produced,
which was Martini Rock.
Yeah, Martini Rock.
So I was like,
I'm
my
like, Martini-
Spotify playlist.
Oh.
Yeah.
and so for Kings of the Drink, I was like, basically, you got the job. We know all we need to know right there. So.
I know, man. It was fun. And so Kings of the Drink for me then, right? And that was like a year and a half. Just a blast. That's the best cover band I've ever been in, except for maybe where I am now. But I would say,
Well spoken, Len.
But Jimmy is fun to be in a band with. I will
I've
say
been in
that.
a lot of bands that I greatly appreciate. Kings of the Drink is one, okay? And we just had a lot of fun gigs, a lot of, and Jimmy was trying to figure out where he was going musically at the time. We had a crossroads there where it was sort of like, just a fun time. But, the thing I'm grateful about there is it helped Jimmy kind of figure out where he was going, that project. And I was a part of helping him figure out, some of those aspects. And so Kings of the Drink was just a blast. Just the bad boys of what'd you call
Hard
that?
drinking, Rat Pack, rock and roll.
Rat Pack, absolutely. It was Rat Pack Rock, is what it was.
Rat
It was a
Pack
blast.
rock and roll. I like it.
It was a blast. And then so that's where I met JP, because JP was in that band for a minute, and Radio City. Kind of spawned out of that, and I spawned off The Ride. So there was a band called The Ride, and I ran that band because I had a lot of this material coming out of Kings of the Drink that was fun to play, and I'm like, who else wants to kind of do this vein of stuff? And kind of hooked up with some friends that were interested in doing that. I had some great people with The Ride. Like I can go through the lineups, but I had 3 main lineups that featured 3 different vocalists over the course of 5 years, and we played the Outer Belt circuit, same venues that a lot of us kind of grew up on the outer skirt of 270 in Columbus, Ohio, with a lot of those clubs. So The Ride went 5 years. I should have a list of people's names, but. Mike Ignorino was the last front guy. Mikey I. Yeah. Lars, I know you've been in band with Mike.
Oh yeah.
From the early '80s.
Higginsville Trash.
The greatest name of all time.
Ever.
What was it called?
Ever.
Higginsville Trash.
Ever. But The Ride was 5 years of fun and a lot of stuff. Again, the DNA of that set list. This is kind of cool. Kind of went into The Ride, but it kind of went into Radio City. Radio City still has some of the King songs in the set list, and The Ride had some of the King songs in the set list, and now so Mikey I infused a lot of cool cover songs that ended up going into Vodka Rocks and went into One Bad Mother. And then when Jason went into Rico's band, a lot of those same damn songs are now in Rico's set list today, which I think is hilarious with Distorted Silence. And it all came from Jimmy. I don't know if you know that, Jimmy, but some of those same friggin' party rock songs are in Rico's set list today, man.
All based on an incorrect theory of picking weird songs. There's songs about drinking.
But it's stuff that, it's still, floating around, and
It's so incestual. I mean, it really is like the whole scene. It's like,
geez.
It's
why we're all
crazy
still
in that
humping.
way.
I know. And we're all humping every weekend. We hump like crazy.
Top Jimmy Swings.
Saturday morning, if you can get it Saturday morning, go for it, man. I mean, just check in, and if it's there, go.
Okay,
No, I'm just
so
kidding.
now,
So
was that the last band?
the Ride band, and then from The Ride, I got picked up by a band called Days Gone By.
Yes.
So Days Gone By
Great band.
was spawned out of J.P. Morgan Chase. It was a corporate band. Frank Logry and Jeff Freeman. Jeff is a lead guitar player, and Frank was the bass player. And they pulled me in as second guitar player to work with Jeff. And I was with them like the last 7 or 8 years. Mm-hmm. And lots and lots and lots of gigs, lots of fun times on the weekends, all over Columbus. It was a lot of fun.
That's how I met you, with the Days Gone By and the
Yes,
Trans years.
absolutely. Yeah, because we were, all trying to figure, go progress our crafts. Mm-hmm. And so for me, toward I think the end of a couple of years ago, we were kind of winding down after 8 years. And, Charles Valentino fronted that band. It was
Nikki
great.
plays and Matt plays.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot. So there's still a lot of relationships that are retained with a lot of those projects. And it's a lot of, that's the beautiful part about a lot of this. But, so I was kind of resolved, and I've gone through some health issues with we're not going to get into details. I've had some challenges, and so I was just hell bent on just like not playing out anymore a couple of years ago. Like, but I want to stay engaged. So the podcast idea was kind of part of that, staying relevant and because I've always, when I go to a show, I try. I know it's busy time, but I try to kind of get to know who's out there and learn about guitar and learn about the gear that they're. What are you doing now? Like, what are you doing digitally? Because I'm an analog freak. I have amps, but I also have digital stuff too that I experiment with. Days Gone By was a blast, and we wanted to focus on the podcast, and I was content with that until
you have a new project you're working on
now. There's a new music
and there's
project.
Somebody.
Yes.
Where did Gabby go?
Gabrielle Johnston contacted me in the spring of 24 and said, "Hey, I was talking with Lori Dolphin and
from the Dolphin Lounge.
Lounge again." And Lori and I have known each other since she took over the operation. But Gabrielle contacted me and said, "Hey, I was talking with Lori, and she thinks I should do a podcast episode because I got a cool story." And I was like, "Sounds good to me." And we did a podcast episode. We met each other and chit-chatted about music. And her story was recorded as an episode. It's actually kind of a cool story. Everybody has cool stories. And a few months later...
You're a really good part of my cool story.
What?
Gabby was telling me earlier today, because we all had a little cocktail hour before we did this podcast, which was really nice. But
you gotta get closer to the mic. Get head on.
Gabrielle was telling me about how you asked him to play in the band. That was a great story.
Len basically has been a guitar player for I don't know how many years, 600 or so, and now he's a bass player
20.
Because he joined my band, and that's a gift to me that I will never forget.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, Gabrielle. Man. I mean, it's like, I have some mobility issues, so like I was very uncomfortable playing guitar live. Nobody gave a shit because they're like, dude, we just want to hear you do your stuff with the band and stuff. But there's a performance element that you gotta. That's real. And so for me to be able to like transform to bass and deal with my mobility issues is a gift, Gabrielle. So I appreciate the fact, there's something out there for everybody, every level, every genre, and when I say level of play, like we're all different. We all excel in different areas, and some people are going to be more successful because that's just the nature of life. The scattering of DNA components is life, and so the fact that Gabrielle, you're like, look, I don't give a shit. Just hang with the drummer and let me do my thing. Because I never saw your show when we started talking, Gabrielle. I had no idea.
Neither one of us knew anything about each other at all.
It's true.
I will tell you that nobody woodsheds harder than Len on music. And I'm going to tell you, he found out he was going to be in Gabrielle's band, and he just started like working through his Spotify playlist of everything, and sitting out here in the living room, sometimes during the work day, and we both work from home. So he decided he was going to get a Bluetooth thing that he could put on headphones and listen to the music and play along with it, but I wouldn't hear the bass playing. So one day, shortly after he got
bass can get noisy.
Yeah. So one day, I'm working in the other room, and I hear this, dum, 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 not music, just a noise, and I thought, what do I have in the dryer? And I'm like, I haven't done any laundry today, but it kept going, dum, dum, dum. And I walked out after a meeting was over, and I see Len sitting there with headphones on, just like hitting the bass, and all I hear is the noise of the pick on the strings. I couldn't hear the music. And I now realize that I really am not drying anything at all. So
no, you're not drying anything.
No.
But those strings are fat, right? So when you're plucking on a bass, even with no what is that? The amplification or sound. I can hear it in the headphones, but the analog noise of the strings, I guess, was still audible for Elizabeth. But it is better than listening to the loud bass, which you do. So here's the thing. So when you switch to a bass, it's like, okay, you're going to play live now. You not only have to learn these songs, but you have to learn how to amplify your lane, right? So gear. Like I've learned a lot about guitar gear, and I love that area. But I didn't know anything about bass amps. I mean, I think I may have consulted with Mr. Jimmy over here with stuff. He gave me some stuff, and Jimmy's like, dude. And then, so then Sean Pruden was another guy. I think we talked a little bit about this. Matt Stone, I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for. I'm taking bass lessons with Matt, and we have a lot of conversation, more than we actually have played, that we actually perform during lessons. We'll hang out and talk about stuff, which is phenomenal. That's the best education ever, is to have a master player like that and just sit down and freaking talk, It's cool.
Larz, you have a question based on what you just said. I was looking at your notepad.
I'm just going to tell you right now who's in charge of this, and she's sitting right next to me.
There's no question, dude. Dude, there's no question.
I've been ordered to ask. Okay. Tiff, I'm going to go. Rush or Led Zeppelin?
No.
Is that the question?
Your first guitar
Dude, that answer. Oh.
Wait, I want to hear the answer to this.
I made a list, and she's pointing at it, but I don't know which one she's pointing at to tell me to ask.
Okay, Larz, let's do this. Let's do this. You obviously have a list. Let's do rapid fire question answer with your list of questions, and I'll answer all of them.
We've gone through a few of them. I don't want to do it like that.
Oh, okay. I'm following you. I'm not even the host of this thing.
You haven't even answered his Rush versus
Rush or
Led
Zeppelin.
Man, that's really tough.
Don't let Nikki, don't let her intimidate you because she's got the Rush.
See, the problem I have with Nikki's shirt is I'm not looking what's on her shirt. I'm just saying. Come on. Nikki Reber. Come on. What?
Just answer Rush.
Rush or Led Zeppelin. Okay, so I'm going Zeppelin on that one.
All right.
Yeah.
I am a huge Rush fan. I'm a huge Rush fan, but I gotta go Zeppelin. What else? What else you got in your bag of tricks?
Okay, well, Tiffany wanted me to ask you this. The first guitar you ever owned, and how old were you when you bought it?
I was 36 years old. 36, and I bought an Alvarez acoustic guitar. But then shortly thereafter, I bought a 70s style Strat and a little Fender, I don't even know what they call them, the little practice Fender amp that had a clean channel and it had a dirty channel. And I like staying on the dirty channel.
Okay.
Yeah, you do.
Cool, Beth.
Wait, are you talking about guitars? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So those are the first guitar. The 70 Strat was cool because it had the big headstock where you get more wood. And then you also have the
this thing's making me
hot. Hey man. And then you have that 70s Strat, natural wood. I mean, everything was cool. It was a good guitar.
What happened to that guitar?
I sold it.
Why?
Because I wasn't playing Strats. I was playing Les Pauls. I love Les Pauls.
Okay.
And I was playing Tellys.
Okay.
I prefer. Okay, so Billy Spitfire and Heath McMullen both get credit for getting me off the Strat, which is, to me, it's kind of a one guitarist guitar is a Strat. And the reason I say that is so bell clear. If you get a Les Paul in that mix, you're not going to hear the Strat necessarily, So anyway, I sold it because I wasn't playing that kind of music. I was moving into rock. I bought the Les Paul because I joined Jimmy King's Kings of the Drink. That's not a Strat band. That was a Les Paul band. We had some fun. What's
still
that?
Had that guitar?
Yeah.
That's a beaut.
It might be in the room. I'll have to pull it out for you because it's got some wear on it now, Jimmy. It's been a long time since I played that guitar. It was brand new for you. Yeah. It was a gold top.
Belt rash.
It's got some scrapes.
He'll pull it out for you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
What do you got? What else, Larzy? What else you got, baby?
I'm good. I'm not gonna hog this up. Somebody else go.
Beth.
Biggie.
Okay, when Can you pinpoint, was there a time that you played a gig and when you walked off, you thought, man, this is what I'm supposed to do, man. This makes me feel better.
I got a great story behind that.
Anything I've ever done, man. So, yeah.
So I lived in a neighborhood in Columbus. It was there was no music in my neighborhood. Okay, I lived in New Albany. There was no live music. There was no India Oak, right?
What a horrible place to be.
Larzy, the phones are ringing. The phones are ringing. So I spent more time in Clintonville than I did in my own neighborhood. But in my neighborhood, I had friends who had a brother who lived in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes area. And I'm thinking, who asked this question? James Biggy Young?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
So they're like, hey, Lenny, because I got pulled to the fireside, what do you call the fire on the patio, the pit, and to bring my guitar. I was that guy in the neighborhood, and so I did, and I would play. And they're like, you guys got to go to upstate New York. You got to go to Watkins Glen, New York, and do this weekend gig with my brother. I'm like, okay. So I did. So we go to the Watkins Glen. We're in a campsite. We pitched a tent, and we have all of our gear. And for that weekend, Biggie, we played to hundreds of people on the infield of this NASCAR race. Okay, and so when we did that, the second, I think it was the second night, we're playing rock covers. And I was the guitarist, and there was the neighbor's brother who was singing. He was did a damn good job. And we had this big-ass bowl of people in front of us that all of a sudden parted. And this voluptuous young woman comes marching, like I have eye contact on this, and I'm playing this song to all these people on this stage. Like, freaking get my rock star on. And I got this chick freaking beelining to me, coming up to the stage, and we had like this table to block us from this big ass crowd. But she decides that she's going to come up and she's going to, in the middle of my song, whisper in my ear, "If you play Eric Clapton's Cocaine, I will take off my top." To which I responded, "Hey, we're changing tunes," and I dun, dun. And sure as shit, this young woman jumps on this table. She takes off her top. And I told this story before in a podcast episode, but we're going to tell it again.
Was it on Penthouse? Was it?
It's pretty.
Was it Penthouse?
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. So she stands up. She's got her top off, and she's going to town. But she's kind of a little bent
Going
over.
to town? What does that mean? Tell us what going to town means.
She had her top off. She's like swinging around, and the crowd's going freaking crazy, Biggie. They're going crazy, and she had this light blue whale tail thong out of the back that was like kind of in my face, and so I lean over like I'm playing guitar, and I'm leaning over to his name was Jim. He's a tall dude, played harmonica in this pickup band.
You sure wasn't Jimmy?
He reached in his pocket. He pulls out like $8 of change. He starts depositing this change into this young lady's butt crack. This is a true story. But I'm playing Eric Clapton's Cocaine cover song to the hundreds of people. I have this going on. There's more to the story, but I don't want to cut to the chase.
Okay.
I felt like a rock star.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
Coins in the butt crack will do it.
Every time.
It's better than a laundromat, I guess.
If I had a nickel in my butt crack for every time I'd heard that story.
What else you got, man?
Tiff has been watching. She said, Tiff's got a question.
No, we don't. You had the notepad.
I was going to ask what's the craziest story you ever had on the road, but I think we just heard it.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, there's crazier stories.
Yeah, what's a crazier
Oh,
story?
let's get juicy, baby.
I mean, when I was in this band called Kings of the Drink.
Probably exit.
There goes Jimmy. Jimmy just left.
No, we, I don't know. What was the question?
Well, I'm gonna get you some Prevagen. And, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened on the road?
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But
Any others?
I wasn't prepared though. I wasn't prepared to think of a crazy story.
You just said you had better ones, and we wanted the juicy ones.
Did,
I don't. Let me think about it, and we'll move to the next question.
Oh, this is what we feel like when we're on land.
Yeah.
Not easy.
The tooth story you told in my podcast was
O'Malley's.
pretty good.
What happened to O'Malley's?
That woman with the banana shaker. Remember those shakers we had?
You tell the story, Jimmy.
Oh,
King.
I'm not telling the
Come
story.
on in, baby. Come on in.
The statute of limitations is up, Jimmy.
Oh yeah.
It's more of a matter of where she put it to shake it.
Well, tell the story, man. So this is a King's.
This is a show at O'Malley's on the west side. I don't remember much about it other than there was a plywood board where the door should be, and it's spray painted said "We're still open." But we played there anyway, and there was about 3 people
That was
there.
such a great. King's. That was a.
Yeah,
King's.
there was a taco truck outside. It had really good tacos, but no, there was like 3 people there, and one of them was a lady. She was probably about 80 years old, and we had these maracas and shakers and tambourines and stuff we put out front, for audience participation. And this woman picked up the banana. It was a shaker shaped like a banana. And she inserted that banana.
No.
Yes, she did. And then she shook it.
Oh my.
We let her keep it.
Yes.
What do they call that? I've heard of squirting and twerking, but
It was called a banana shake-up.
That's right. Wow.
Hey, that's no crazier than a.
And Len, you couldn't think of crazy stories, so what other ones are laying on the table here you're not telling us
Ladies and
about?
gentlemen, the banana shake-up has caused quite a shake-up.
It's a new band.
I do have a good tooth story.
Tooth story. Love it.
And I told this before. I don't remember where. Somewhere
think it
in
was
the
in
100
mine.
episodes. Maybe it was. Do you want me to tell it again?
Sure.
So I had a tooth story, and then I said on the podcast I love tooth stories. So now Len's like, I want to get tooth stories out of people. So what's yours?
We've had a couple. So the tooth story for me was I was playing at a place called Hot Spot Tavern, just north of where the Alrosa Villa
Right
once
there.
stood.
Yep.
Much
I think
smaller.
It is still there?
I remember that place.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was a Brighton Blues Band gig. So I was playing guitar with Billy Spitfire, and I at the time I don't remember who the drummer was, but that's kind of sad. Oh, JW? I don't think it was JW. It was probably another guy. But I was the guitar player, the lead guitar player, and we were doing our Brighton Blues thing, and we were approached. We were approached by this woman who was dancing, and she was digging my guitar solo, and she came around behind me, and her hands were all over me, and I was trying to keep my composure with where all her hands were and all this crap, and we were having a good time with it, right? But the guys in the band were making fun of me because they kind of came around front, and I was doing this guitar solo, and I had this person behind me. She comes around front, and she planted this big kiss, and the guitar solo is still going. Because it was blues, right? And she backed up, and she smiled, and all of the teeth on the left side of her head were gone.
And we're still together.
I want to say something.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It was like 20 years before Beth and I even knew each other. But that was, and so,
Wow.
That was a good one.
If you got OCD, that's hard to look at.
Well, what happened was all the blood left my face,
Because you're thinking it's ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which side were you looking on, the teeth side or the no teeth side? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Where did your eyes gravitate toward? The no
the side
teeth
with
or
the teeth or the ones with no teeth?
It was just a noticeable thing. They didn't focus anywhere. I just, I absorbed the media and moved on.
Did she say anything? What did she?
She said. She said.
Did she spit any water out the side?
She said. She said, "You are one beautiful motherfucker."
She did.
No, I'm just kidding.
Nice.
But it sounded like this. Yeah.
I think some chew came out. She spit some chew out of that side, didn't she?
It was. Listen. If you spend any time doing gigs at the Hotspot Tavern, it's a great venue. There's just an eclectic group of folks that go in and out of there.
It's like Noah's
You
Ark.
got some summer teeth. Some are here, some are there.
It's perfect.
It's like Noah's Ark. When the door opens, you don't know what's coming in. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
It's
No pun
perfect.
intended.
Oh, I have a question. Have you ever had a podcast where somebody said something so ridiculous and so out there and like maybe gonna get canceled that you had to edit something out?
Ooh, that's good.
It got quiet in here quick.
I do. So I have I have a policy with that like. I'm very passionate about the podcast. I mean, it's just I love just doing it. You know, it's fulfilling in a lot of ways, a lot of surprising ways, which is great. But what was the question?
So I
might be suffering from dementia. I don't know.
No. We've been hanging out all day. So has there ever been a podcast where somebody said something maybe offensive or bad and you had to edit it out?
Okay. So I have a policy where I don't edit. It's sort of like a live. It's like a live show.
But you made me and Larz sign a waiver.
Yeah. Stop it. You can't tell our secrets.
It's less time consuming. I don't have a lot of time for it, but I have enough time for it. But I don't have the time to do video. I don't have the time to do edits. There is one episode where somebody said something that they regretted that because of their age, like they're a young budding musician out of Columbus. They made a mistake and they badmouthed something like off the cuff that they regretted, and they begged me to edit it out, and I did. Okay. And it took me some time to get there because it's effort that I have to plan for it. You know, there's only so much time. Everybody's busy.
So really nobody said anything.
I did edit that out because it was like we all make mistakes, and he's such a young. It was such a young person
that narrows it down.
I didn't want to screw anything up for them, you know, with that media. Yeah. So I made that exception, and then I actually recorded an entire episode once for two different people that we had to re-record again due to technical difficulties.
Was it really technical difficulties?
Yeah.
Or they said something?
No, it was technical difficulties. But those are the only edits I've ever made.
No, you gave me a lecture when I did mine. You're like, okay, Big, I know you got a lot of stories. You can't say this, you can't say that, and throw some words in there that mean that, but not really. So anybody I work, I know will know.
Dude, wait, what?
So then you were just like, look, man, you can't say this, you can't say that. Okay. So then my wife, I get home, I'm all excited. I go, man, you got to listen to this. So she listens to it, and she's like, oh, yeah. She goes, that's pretty impressive. She goes, so where's the real version at? And I went, oh, wow. You know,
well, the good news is he can't get canceled because he has no sponsors. So
here's the thing. Like you can, the only thing I said was I think you can curse if you want. If the cursing is part of your rap, it's cool. There's no explicit language rating, all that. Free speech. You can say whatever you want, but the spirit of the podcast is to keep things on the
right.
Not to like blow smoke or look at things through a rose-colored glass, but more of a positive energy. Keep things of a more of a positive nature.
Well, it kind of made me nervous because I'm like, well, what if something slips? And you're just like, dude, you're allowed to swear, and then it's like, somebody dropped an F-bomb.
My dad wasn't thrilled with the amount of F-bombs I dropped in my podcast.
There were a few.
I don't think there were any. Were there?
Yes, there was a lot. We had a whole conversation about how I curse too much.
That's good advice from a dad.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it tame tonight, right, Larz?
I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Len, how many times have you been thanked by everyone that you've done this?
Everybody thanks
and that
to do it.
People who've listened and said, wow, dude, what a great thing you're doing?
A lot. I would venture to say everyone has thanked for doing a podcast episode. Like, there's not a selection process. It's kind of like a personal meeting great people along the way and wanting to include everyone. I mean, be as inclusive, not just with the rock genre, which obviously is still, power pop and rock is still, I think, probably one of the more popular live music type of acts that get hired and presented to crowds and venues. But there are a lot of other veins of music that I've tried to include. For example, there's some blues artists, some R&B artists that are around town that have done episodes and whatnot as well.
I might do a little branching into theater.
And well, maybe so. It's like it's Columbus-based music, but theater. I think maybe Beth, that might be your podcast. You can run with that.
You did the charitable thing too.
Yeah, all that.
Choices guys on there.
With the what?
Yeah, the Choices ladies.
The Choices.
On there too, so you've done some good community service.
Good community things. Yeah. So I mean, it's not a matter of like. The podcast, Biggie, was kind of a personal passion area. I love Columbus-based music, love it, and we've heard, like, I've had a small piece of some of these, and it's been just a fun personal journey for me. It's going to continue with Soul Revival, wherever that brings things. Gabrielle's doing some great music, live music, and so whatever I can do, and I'm lucky now. We're bringing in because our current drummer in Gabrielle's band, Soul Revival, is again, I can relate to this. He's struggling with the physical aspects of being the drummer. He's a fabulous musician. He's a great drummer. He plays other instruments. He's going to kind of gravitate more toward non-drumming for himself, and because that opening, we're going to tap into Mark Naraki for Soul Revival. And Mark and I, again, we go back the last 5 years and days gone by. He was a drummer in that band. He's a great drummer.
His new name is N-Rock, by the way.
N-Rock. I love it. But Mark and I, being mostly rhythm in days gone by, like I was just saying recently, my right finger is on the root note of that fretboard with Mark the last 5 years. We're pretty tight anyway with music. We relate really well together. So being a bass player and the drummer for that, I mean, Mark and I share the goal. And it's perfect because we have the same language and the same approach. We want to work together as he's woodshedding his music. I'll learn from him, but he'll learn the material as well, but we're going to learn it like how we're going to do it. So when we get to Gabrielle as the rhythm section and her guitar player, we'll be locked in as best we can at that point to kind of come in with everyone else. And we have the attitude that we're going to work together for as long as we can in this project to be the best we can be for that project. We're going to serve that band, and the material will be served to whatever her wheelhouse is, right? Like, we may have ideas, but we want to serve the performance, and we want to serve the song, and we want to serve the band. So we're like attitude, and we'll see how well we do, right? So that's the thing is, it's great to have the ideas. The other thing, freaking deliver what you want to do, and do the best you can. But also be open enough to know, go as long and hard as you want, but be mindful, things evolve over time. So, be open and allow that organic growth. And, you got somebody you respect, like Gabrielle as a vocalist, for example, which I do. She's on her own journey. So whatever I can do while I'm connected, just like whatever I could do to help Jimmy King in Kings of the Drink during my tenure there, I feel good about that, man. We had but Jimmy moved into what he's doing today, and I give total accolades to all of that. You should feel good about evolution and progression of what's happening in the music community, and try to stay positive about it.
Mm-hmm.
So when is the next gig?
Gabrielle can speak to. Gabrielle's here today. When's the next gig, Gabrielle? I don't even.
February 8th at the Corner.
At the Corner. So we're doing the Corner.
Where's the Corner?
That's on 256 in Pickerington.
It's awesome. She knows exactly what's happening.
It's great.
I don't know if we'll have Mark yet, but he'll come when Mark and I get ready. So in the meantime, we're working with the players, and I'm happy to be in that helping out on bass with what's going on there.
And I'd just like to point out, I saw you guys last week at Gatsby's, and you sounded great, Len.
Thanks, man.
Super fun.
Now, have you and Beth ever just sat around and broke out the acoustic guitar?
Yes, all the
did
time.
songs together?
All the time.
Yeah?
Yeah, we did.
On the balcony?
We've done
do it
we've
from the
done
neighbors?
it.
Mostly inside.
We've done
mostly
it.
inside.
We've done it.
Okay.
You know.
We've done acoustic shows.
Cool.
We booked
Well,
acoustic
we
shows.
sit out here and.
But we hang out here all the time. Like
Nice.
Sunday mornings, I'm usually playing guitar, bass stuff.
We were sitting here a couple Saturdays ago. We had, I think we were going to the Ingle Jingle that night or something, and he was practicing some America of all things, and I'm like, I've always played America, but I never got that riff down to Ventura Highway, and so I just sat there while we were playing, and I pulled out my acoustic and I started working on that riff, and then we went to this party later. And there were a bunch of musicians there, and I picked up the guitar, and they're like, "Hey, let's do a song." And I'm like, and they're like, "Yeah." And we're like, "There's 2 chords to that song." And I today have this memorized. Now I can't do it tonight, but we do. It's just kind of fun.
Ingle Jingle.
Ingle Jingle. It's a fun party. Shout out to the Ingles.
So being in a relationship with you guys and being musical, both of you, how often are you at home playing music or records? And I know you have that big record collection out there.
Yeah.
It's not that big.
Huh?
No, I mean, yeah.
No, Beth's
She said
Beth's
it's
on
not
the
that
road.
big.
Beth's on the Beth during the
travel a
week.
lot,
Beth
yeah.
travels a lot. She's on the road, so I play every day. I've always played daily.
Do you guys play together at all? at home?
Sometimes we do. I've got to do my own wood shedding, if you will, over the next few weeks for a project that I just got hired into, just a one-time thing for a pit. But I love just sitting around listening to him. It's kind of cool. And even though, like yesterday morning, he had his headphones on, I still knew what songs he was playing, so I sat there and sang along.
From the bass.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like the bass slap.
And it was kind of fun. I'm like, you know that song? And then I'm singing along with him. So it's fun. It's just,
What
it's
was it?
relaxing. There were a whole series. I think some of them.
It was the Tim Farrell list that
Yeah.
yesterday I did a lot.
Yeah, but it was, just like stuff that I grew up with in the 70s, just
Yeah.
the stuff I actually really know.
45 records before the
Yeah.
LPs.
Well, yeah, let's go with that description. Yeah, sure.
So, Len, one of my favorite things about you is I can be somewhere, and next thing you know, I'm getting FaceTimed by you. Remember, we were at my friend's wake, and Jimbo and I was sitting there. Jimbo couldn't make it today. Give a shout out to Jimbo. We all love
man.
Jimbo,
Yeah,
man.
Absolutely.
And
Jimbo.
he's our favorite baker, man.
Yeah.
You guy's a killer. So anyhow, next thing you know, my phone goes off, and I go, "Oh, dude," I go, "It's Len." I go, "We're out of wake," and he's like, "Dude, you can't deny Len. Answer that phone." So I did. So for an hour, Len's on there, and he's like, "Dude," and I'm trying to turn it down, and all these people are looking at us. And then a couple times at home, I'll be on the computer, and I'm like, "Man, I've never answered a
FaceTime call.
And then it's Len, and he's like,
I'm
"What's
always
happening?"
face-to-face, man.
"I gotta go, man. Somebody from work's calling me." and then you call me back 5 minutes later. "I'm back, dude. I had to take care of that. I'm working, I'm like,
I do work during
I have
the
to
day.
tell you that
I have a day job.
We'd like to remember. Excuse me, James. Did you have something to say?
carry on."
I have to tell you that my text tone for Len is this trumpet. Do, 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 do. And if I'm around him, I go, "Leonard speaks." But but his text tone and my daughter's text tone, which is a little thing, they surpass any silence I have on my phone, right? No other text sound comes through it unless it's Len or my daughter Emma. So I'm in meetings sometimes, I'm traveling, and all of a sudden I forget to turn I have to turn the volume all the way. It's not just turning the ringer, I have to turn the volume all the way down. Otherwise, I'm in a meeting and I hear the and people are going, what the heck? I'm like, oh, Leonard speaks, so yeah, so just whatever.
There you have it.
Len's sons
My
are
sons
here.
are in this room.
Yeah.
Alexander and Anthony.
Here, say hi.
Alex and Anthony.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, guys. Did you bring both your puppies? No, just one?
Just Momo.
One of two. Awesome.
All right.
Hi. They don't like the silence.
Well, if I can, Biggie, you asked about, if he gets thanked, and I think he gets more than thanked. It's just it's been transformative, I think, for both of us. I think I mentioned this earlier on, but the friendship and the love that we feel from everybody when we go out to hear bands play or we have friends over or whatever, and it's, I said, for me it's a blessing too, because every time he does a podcast, I know, before you guys came over, I knew some of you before, but then he'll have somebody over that I've never met before, and we'll sit there and talk before they do the podcast, and I'll be like, man, I really like this person. And then before long, we're friends on Facebook, and we're seeing each other out, and it's just, it's really been the benefits are far greater on this side of the scale than on that side of the scale. And I think they're pretty darn big on that side of the scale, but we're just totally blessed. Yeah, so I thank you for doing this.
That's cool.
We all thank you, Len.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Len. But also thanks Beth as well, because I've known Len for a long time, and now we love you.
That's awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so what was the first major concert you ever saw?
So I wasn't driving yet. I was 15, living in Westerville, and a bunch of us jumped in a car, not to the El Rosa Villa, because I didn't know what that was, but we went to Vets Memorial, right across the river here from where we're recording this, and I saw two concerts within a week. The first concert, I think this was like 1978. The big major was Journey.
Nice.
And it was their second album. Was it Infinity or was it Evolution?
Evolution.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was the Evolution tour. I might still have the concert T-shirt in this closet back here somewhere in the box.
Jersey?
Oh, wow.
No, it was a concert T-shirt. It might fit my hand. Okay.
Would it fit me?
I don't know.
Probably not is his answer. Yeah.
And then I don't know. We'd have to try it. And then, so Journey, and then I think this very next evening or within a week, I saw Molly Hatchet at the same place.
Wow.
So they had Journey roll through, and then they had Molly Hatchet, and I saw both those concerts. And that was during the days when, you figured out what was going on when you saw the people in the hallway with their concert T-shirts on.
Right.
Well, I was sporting my Journey shirt that day, and the Molly Hatchet shirt, and so I was becoming, music oriented with all that stuff.
Nice.
But those are the two that could probably count. Yep. Cool. They were great shows too. I made eye contact with Steve Perry because I ran like to the third row and I hung because I had seats way in the back, but I ran and I went to like third row ish, and I remember seeing Steve Perry singing. And I was like, man, that guy's freaking good. Like, and he obviously from that point forward, that was Journey's heyday. That was great music.
Did you ever go in the basement of Vets?
I have been there for like trade show stuff. Absolutely.
Oh, this was a trade show, but not that type.
But
that's where you went.
And
they looked the other way.
What are you guys referring to specifically?
Referring to exactly.
Yeah. It was like the pregame before the shows, and
secondhand smoke
the
stuff.
cops never went down there. They were cool about it, man. They thought, well, at least we got y'all.
To answer your question, no, man.
No,
I was a jock. I was a jock. I was not even aware of such a place. It's true. Cray.
Right.
So thank you guys. Is there? Larz is looking at his list.
I'm checking it twice. Gonna find out who's naughty and nice.
Is there anything from the Peanut Gallery?
Oh.
Any burning questions?
Nikki Raber's sitting on the edge of the bed.
Here, Nikki.
Just in case I have anything to say. I don't think I have anything interesting.
Come on.
Oh,
Jump in.
Find that hard to believe.
represent the peanut gallery, Nikki.
Jump in, Nikki.
Wow. Zero preparation. Way to put me on the spot,
Well,
guys.
you perform well under pressure.
I
You're a
don't
star.
really.
You do though. You do it all the time.
I'm really mostly a mess, but well, I would. I mean, that's just reality. I'm trying to figure out when it was that I met you, because I
Okay.
don't think we ever covered that in our podcast. You knew who I was before I knew who you were.
Yeah.
Because
I paid
JP said
attention.
to me, "Hey, this guy, I remember this. It's coming back to me now. I was at home being a good girl. JP was out seeing the ride, and he said, "Hey, these people know you."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Why? Why did anybody know you? That was before I joined Radio City. I was filling in at the time. So talk to me, Len. How did you know me?
How did I meet you?
Yeah.
So I remember. So you did a post recently of a fundraiser where you sang with Women Who Rock, right?
Yeah.
In 2007-ish?
2007, when we did that fundraiser for the Stephanie Spielman
So
Foundation.
I was at that show because that was at Last Call, which was on the rocks at the time. Am I thinking right? Or was that something else?
It was at Woo Doggies in Hilliard. It was that one.
Oh. What was the one you did in Dublin at On the Rocks?
Oh, God.
Because I used to go to that place a lot. You did a fundraiser, and I saw you, and I thought, damn, that's somebody that can sing.
Hey,
Okay,
thanks.
because I'm seeing a lot. I was going out a lot whenever I could to see local bands, and I wasn't seeing great vocal performances necessarily, and so when I saw you, I remember thinking, I want to remember that person's name, because that's like a real local singer. You're like the first person that I saw that could sing.
Okay, I'm going to go sit over here and cry now. Thank you.
So let me finish the story. So like on MySpace or Facebook or whatever, I think I may have started following you to see where you were and you, I don't know or kept an eye out for your name, and you really weren't doing anything that was visible to me at the time.
Yep, it was just occasionally Mr. Matt and I, Sestone, we were doing the basic approach thing, but that was all.
That was probably it.
That was all I was doing for a while.
I didn't even know Matt at the time, because I didn't meet Matt until I started playing with Jamie King with Kings of the Drink, and Matt Sestone would run sound at some of Jamie's gigs, and so I met Matt, and I learned more about Matt. But and then I didn't know you were working with Matt at the time necessarily. So to answer your question, though, I think when you and JP were starting to work together, and you were filling in for Radio City, you had a gig at Ugly Mug, and I went there.
Oh yeah, I remember
and
that.
After the show, and because I was feeling good for JP, that I remembered your name. And I thought, oh, yeah, she can sing. And then I went to that gig. And then so I finally, at the end of the night, which is what I do, I just introduced myself. I said, Nikki, you don't know me from Adam, but I'm a fan of yours. And I think this is a great thing for you and for JP to, hopefully you guys can make this work, because it's a viable band. And I think it's just going to be fantastic to have you be a part of that. So I think you were working through all that in the beginning. So that's when I think that's exactly when we actually met face to face.
That sounds right. I remember that Ugly Mug gig. I would say, 10 years later or whatever it's been.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate having met you, and because I've met you, now I've met Beth, and
Yay.
I don't know. It feels like once you meet Len, you just sort of become this organic part of the Columbus music scene, because he just knows and loves and connects everyone.
It's cool.
And he loves to FaceTime. He really does.
I have not been a recipient of a Len
No,
FaceTime
I would.
yet.
I don't think I would.
Me neither.
I don't think I would FaceTime you.
Really?
Actually,
You mean I'm
you know what?
privileged?
Here's the thing,
Wow.
Nikki. Whenever I text you, I always copy JP. Why? Out of respect for who you guys like. You guys are a couple, so like I don't like to like, you know.
You don't like to scheme on me
No,
behind the scenes,
no.
I see.
Or I just do a 4-way text with Beth's in there. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
it's
we're
just-
all going to tell each other anyway.
That's
so
right. You don't have to worry
might
about
as well
that.
just get it all out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, no, that's what happened. That's my recollection anyway.
I feel like everybody knows a lot more about Len Damico now.
I feel like we do.
they?
Is there anything
I
anybody
think
doesn't
he was
know?
absolutely the best guest on his own podcast
I think so.
I've ever
100%.
heard.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah.
That's cool.
Anything you didn't tell us, Len?
There's a lot I haven't told you.
And we love and appreciate you, Len.
That's for the next episode.
It's all good. We're
After
gonna-
hours.
I mean, we've gone through humps and, long and hard and all kinds of
All
stuff
good.
here, but
It's all good. Let's
all right.
wrap it up. But people got to get on with their day, don't they?
There's cheese and crackers out there, isn't
There's
there?
cheese and crackers.
There's probably none
Crackers.
left.
There's plenty of drink and
There's
food.
spice
so let's-
cake.
I did make spice cake.
Yeah.
Episode number 100. Celebrating.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.